Okay, so our question at handout today. Is it better to be feared than loved? Like, this is a very big question that many people throughout the world have. And so this is also what we're going to be debating today. So it's going to be a value debate of whether is it better to have on the list being feared above being loved. So the idea of feared is going to be defined as hard power, and the definition for love is soft power. So Wesley and I today are agreeing that, guess what? On the list of priorities, we think that hard power, the idea of being alive, the idea of national security, is better than soft power. So our value is national security. And the criteria of how you should decide this debate is who best upholds the value of national security. My contention one is Iran versus the U.S. My subpoint A is that the current situation is that Iran has just come out with news that there's this surprise second nuclear power plant. And the idea that Ahmadinejad is coming out and saying, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we're not taking the idea of a nuclear weapon off the table. We kind of like that idea and we may use it. So here's this current threat in the current political arena. Subpoint B is that many people throughout the U.S. are upset that we've taken the U.S. missile defense in Eastern Europe out. We're not going to build it anymore. This idea of hard power, of putting the missile defense in Eastern Europe, is what many people under the Bush administration thought was going to be a good idea, that this would prevent us from having nuclear weapons coming out of the Middle East. Subpoint C is what we're doing currently, is using soft power. This idea that we're going to take the missile defense out of Eastern Europe and put it on the water, that we're going to have talks with Iran first, that we're going to include the other nations in the UN, and that maybe something good will happen about this. Our idea is that we're taking action, that we view the idea of having that defense system there more than the idea of having talks and maybe concessions. So the point B is how this links in with our value. Like I said before, national security, in this instance I'm specifically talking about the U.S., is we're safer, we're more likely to have stronger national security when we have a hard power impact, when we have the missile defense in the Eastern Europe, opposed to this idea of soft power taking it out. So the reason why we should have it is that it's ultimately going to be better for everyone in the U.S. and even, I might say, for people outside the U.S. because Ahmadinejad said that he wants to take Israel off the face of the earth. So this idea of national security isn't necessarily just for the U.S., it's also for Israel. My contention, too, is about specifically Israel versus Palestinians. Subpoint A is that Israel has been in this loving idea. They've been using soft power, but they've also been taking some heavy beatings over the past year. They've been using soft power. However, in subpoint B, they stopped using soft power. They started using hard power. The example of the 22-day offense, this almost a year ago, when the idea that they were going to go against this offense against the Palestinians, for example, this was them using hard power, that they would be able to secure their own borders through the idea of going on this 22-day offense more than just sitting at the table and talking, which is how we lead into our subpoint C. That national security is valued more because instead of just talking and letting rockets come into their land, into the country of Israel, they decided that they were no longer just going to sit by and idly talk, that they viewed the idea of hard power more, the idea of launching an attack over the idea of soft power, because ultimately they were able to have their own people saved by launching on other people, which is the idea of keeping those in your country alive, the idea of national security and being able to have this longevity. So when you're looking at today's round, the opposition is going to come up and they're going to say stuff like, no, we should use soft power, or the idea that we need them both. But no, this is not what you're going to be valuing. You're going to be valuing through our two contentions that in both instances, these are examples of when, yes, hard power is actually more favorable. It is actually better than soft power. Because at the end of the day, is it better to be alive or not? Is it better to be someone that just kind of sits by and talks idly, but then gets bombed or has a nuclear weapon exploded in their land? So the idea of being alive is, guess what? It's better to be alive and be feared than to be loved and possibly dead. So for these reasons, you're going to be voting for the government team.
So she gave me like, I'm all Jedi mind game here. I'm totally persuaded.
You will love nuclear explosions.
We love Iran.
He talks about points of information.
Go Middle East.
These are not the notes.
Hey,
Use that.
he talks about points of information in here, right?
Yeah. What? I
He
think
talks about points of information,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what this reading. That's kind of weird flashback.
I'm ready to record you. There's no way to tell a grill that.
They're just too freaking fast.
Record number 2. Email it to me.
Listen, and that was slow. Yeah. So,
That was.
here's why I'm telling you this, people. Look, I taught Lincoln how to debate, okay? So I've been doing this a long time. This is hard. All right?
Oh, no.
Abraham Lincoln, he kicked Stephen Douglas's butt because of my coaching. So, I will tell you right now, right, it wasn't because of good looks, I'll tell you that. Listen, this is hard. It is particularly hard at first for people who are somewhat slow with their, between the ear and the hand.
You tell me.
All right? Now listen, I'm getting by that. But what I'm saying to you is this. Listen, you can get much faster at this. It's like anything else you're doing. I don't care if it's sport, anything that kind of requires some kind of ear-to-hand coordination, you got to practice it. So if you sit there and go, this is kind of hard.
We're recording.
Isn't there like that one? Yeah, what a handout
Put it
fix
on YouTube.
this? A handout will not fix this. Force yourself to concentrate, write in abbreviated sentences, get the main idea down. Do not
Now
try
you tell us.
to write down a verbatim manuscript of what it says. You can't do that. Abbreviate. Hush, nasty children. But if you do not practice, you will be lame. You will be feeble forever. And I'm not
Yes,
fighting
Mom,
for
stop.
healthcare. Alright, now, listen. So, this is going to be the leader of the opposition constructed. Steve, are you doing any off-kick?
Yeah, but it's short.
Alright, it's okay still. So,